Ah, hey there. I guess that you're asking why I just destroyed this brand new building. Well, it's because... Hello guys, my name is Doke and graffiti has been a part of my life for almost 13 years. But I never really knew why. Why people do graffiti. Why they risk their freedom, sometimes even lives. What is the point of painting your name? I've done a deep research about this topic. I watched hours and hours of graffiti documentaries, I read a lot, and I found a lot of interesting stuff, so shall we? The very first graffiti was made by cavemen. The very first wall paintings were in caves. For some reason, our primitive predecessors had a feeling that they need to express themselves. They were painting what had an impact on their lives, which sounds more like a traditional art than graffiti. After people developed letters, they started to use them on walls. Ancient Egypt is such a perfect example of that. So it seems that the urge to paint something all around you is in our human nature, except they were not writing their names all around the cities in the ancient times. Once again, it was more of a traditional art because they tried to tell something. If we want to talk about graffiti as we know it today, it all started in 1960s in New York and Philadelphia, USA. The guy who's considered the very first graffiti writer in the world has a name Taki 183. Taki as his name and 183 as a number of his street. As a young Greek kid living in America, he was kind of bored. And then one day he saw something written in the street, Julio 204, and he found it super interesting for some reason. He got inspired and he started to write his name everywhere. Later he became a delivery guy, so he was riding his bike all around the city, which was a perfect opportunity to spread his name. Some sources say that he was inspired by advertising posters, which were also all around the city, and they were trying to spread some message. He instead tried to spread his name. People started to notice that. They started to notice some Taki writings. And when they realized that it's a guy, that it's his name, they suddenly realized that he's sort of famous. People got inspired. They've seen it everywhere, they wanted to try too. And suddenly the streets of New York were covered with people names and their addresses. Graffiti, as we know it today, started to spread. It was sort of a competition, a sort of a game. And you know, when you play some game, you want to win the game. But when everybody's basically writing the same thing, how do you win? Well, this is how style appeared in graffiti. If you want to be better than the others, write it in a better way. Make yourself different from the others. First of all, people were doing graffiti just with markers, but just as I already told you, they wanted to somehow get some advantage. That's why they started to use a spray paint, because it was a fast way how to make something bigger than just a tag with a marker. So suddenly you have a big group of people who are interested in graffiti. They try to compete with each other. They use markers, they use cans, they try to develop their own styles to be better than the others. And then there is this one little detail. They do it everywhere, all around New York. Statues, walls, parks, everywhere. And ordinary public didn't like this at all. And this brings us to the main question of this video. Also back then, people were asking why? Why the hell would you do this? Also back then, people were calling graffiti a mess, a disease that suddenly appeared in the city. They were asking why. Right now, let me tell you two reasons why this all started in the first place. The first theory why people started to do this phenomenon is that they simply wanted to express themselves. You know, back then in 60s there were no tablets, no computers, no internet, no nothing, so people, and especially kids, were playing in the streets. And these streets are the same place where hip-hop culture started, with breakdancing and rap music. These kids started to dance, started to rap, and they wanted to get better. They wanted to get their own signature, their own way of expression. And these are the same streets where graffiti started. Well, some of these kids who were dancing and rapping also started to write their names. And just as in breakdance or rap music, they wanted to get their own form of expression, so they developed their own styles. But still, writing your name to a wall didn't really seem as a good way of expression. Especially public people, they didn't get it. They understood breakdancing, they knew that dancing is a thing, and that it has a ton of styles, just as rap music is sort of a singing, but writing your name to a wall, come on. So there is also a second theory why these kids were so excited about writing their names all around the city. Marking. Making a mark. Marking a territory. Gangs used to do this to let everybody know that this area belongs to them, and frankly also dogs do this to let everybody know that this is my area. So it seems that this theory actually makes some natural sense. Young Taki was riding his bike around the city, and when he saw his tags, he felt good. Other people have seen it, they find it interesting, they tried too, they suddenly felt good too, and boom, you have a graffiti game. And if you play some game, you want to be the best in the game. So graffiti evolved. Some people thought that to be the best you need to have the quality, that you need to produce good styles in the streets, and that's how you win the game. But on the other hand, there were also people who thought that quantity is more important than quality. They wanted to see their name out there, they wanted to see it rolling. And later some graffiti writers started to involve topics in their pieces. They tried to say something, they tried to express themselves, and suddenly these two theories, why people started to do this in the first place, are connected. A form of expression and marking. Leaving your mark out there. Some people started to think that yeah, this might be an art form. It started to make sense, but still, there is this one big problem. There is a big difference between graffiti and other hip-hop elements, because graffiti started to be highly illegal and dangerous. So right now we know how it all started, but what is the thing that keeps all the graffiti writers in the game that can cause a ton of problems to them? So here are the 5 points, the 5 most common reasons of graffiti writers to do this, to do graffiti. The first one is freedom. Some graffiti writers say that they feel free when they do graffiti. They see it as a free form of expression. They simply feel free when they do it. The second one is rebellion. A rebellion against the system, against the society, against whatever. These people see graffiti as a protest. The third one is fame. We all know that people like fame, and graffiti is a way how to get fame. It's basically like football. If you are good in football, you are famous. If you are good in graffiti, you are famous too. It just depends on who cares about graffiti or football. The fourth reason is the superhero feeling. Some writers say that when they do graffiti, they feel like superheroes. And when they see their pieces all around the cities, it's just an amazing feeling of a hero. The fifth reason that I got from one of the most famous Slovak illegal writers is that graffiti is something like a mountaineering. It makes a perfect sense. Mountaineers collect mountains. They want to concrete them all. And there is an enormous amount of risk. Graffiti writers, they collect streets, subway systems most of the time. There's also a huge amount of risk, but they do it anyways. They want to collect them all. None of these groups get some super big amount of attention from ordinary public, but they do it anyways. So these are the 5 reasons why graffiti writers risk their lives to do what they do. For a lot of them, it is a mixed bag of all these things, or they simply cannot explain why they do it. they simply do it. A lot of people ask if graffiti is a form of art, and the answer is no, it didn't start that way. It didn't start as art, it was more of a game or a sport. It was about winning the game, about seeing your name in the streets, seeing your name rolling on trains. I believe that art came into graffiti with style, because when you try to practice something to make it great, well, that's what I call art. And that's what I've put together after watching all these documentaries and reading a lot of articles. I'm glad that after all these years I've done it properly. But maybe there's one more thing that we should discuss. Why I do it. I've been doing illegal graffiti, but just for a little while. I never really enjoyed the risk. My graffiti beginnings are such a good example of this whole theory why. My friends started to do it, so I joined them. I joined the game. There was a community, and I wanted to be a significant part of the community, so I practiced and I tried to be better. Right now I do just legal stuff, and frankly, I'm not a graffiti writer. Let's call it an artist or street artist. I'm not collecting spots or subways, and I can't see my marks in the streets. But thanks to the modern era, I can still express myself and share it with you. I can still feel like a superhero when I finish a piece that I really like, and I can still protest against whatever I want. And I can still be famous, frankly, more than anyone who doesn't post his stuff to the internet. But this is not a graffiti game, this is a modern art game. I completely get it that this game is quite lame in comparison with the true graffiti, but you know, just as I already told you, I don't like the risk, and I don't want to do something what I don't like. But on the other hand, after all this research, after all these graffiti videos, I feel like I want to paint everything, every single wall, all these spots. Well, I guess that you don't need to play football, but you can still be a fan of it and watch it in TV from your living room, if you know what I mean. Alright guys, if you have some more information or you would like to add something into this topic, let me know in the comments below. I'm looking forward to your opinions, and yeah, I'm sorry if I messed some facts, but this is how I understand the graffiti culture. If you like this video, thumb up would be awesome, as always. And yeah, this is it. This is why people do graffiti.